Hey everybody, it's What's Up Mike. Today, I think I have a mystery disease. It has plagued me for years now, had some serious consequences, which we'll get into, and I still don't know what it is. There's something in me, and it's I don't know. So, yeah, mystery disease and the ridiculous stories of its consequences. So, I have this issue where if I get a stomach bug or food poisoning or something like that, my body starts to go absolutely haywire. Like, I mean, it just systems come offline. I don't know what the problem is. I eat relatively healthy food. I'm not reckless with what I put in my body. I'm in good shape. I could go down a long list of self-congratulatory items about my physical condition, but it's something I pay attention to. We'll say that. So the this problem that I've run into is a long-standing thing. I mean, over 10 years I've dealt with this. So we'll go back to the beginning when I was a young, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed cadet at West Point. There was a meal in the mess hall that was, I guess, somewhat notorious. Shrimp scampi. When you're making shrimp for well over 4,000 people, mistakes will be made. And so there was a food poisoning issue back in college where hundreds of people were affected. Only like 5 or 8 kids went to the hospital. I was one of them. My friends found me in the bathroom, passed out on the floor, having thrown up many, many, many times. Passed out from dehydration from throwing up. So it was pretty bad. They got me in the car and got me to the emergency room. Lots of fluids, painkillers for cramping and just terrible pain. Lots of anti-nausea medicine. But it was handled overnight in the hospital, though, because of food poisoning. Less than 1% of the people that were affected had to go to the hospital. I was one of them. So that was a little bit weird. One incident. Some people get it worse than others, whatever. There have been several incidents along the way, but the most recent one enlightened me to maybe some of the causes of this, sort of. So very recently enough, a couple of months ago, I have some friends of mine that are doctors. One is in upstate South Carolina who's a great friend, and we lived there for several years. And another's here in Charleston. And these are my top of the food chain medical doctors, my go-to guys whose opinion I no shit just trust with absolute trust. So, and I try not to call them with bullshit. Right? Because I feel like with those guys, there's so many people, they're recognized as an expert, right? And there are costs to being recognized as an expert in a field, which is everybody calls you with their question about that thing. So I try to limit what I bother my friends with expertise with, so that when I do have a question, when I do need their help with it, I've actually got that call to make, and they'll dedicate the time to helping me out. So I don't try to call Doc with every little question. I don't send him pictures of the moles on my nuts or anything. Like he doesn't get every little thing from me, but man, I was hurting. So I got food poisoning. And the reason why we thought it was food poisoning is because Kristen, my wife, also got sick, and relatively soon, within a couple hours after a particular meal, a late night pork dumplings, which late night pork dumplings, not always the best idea. Anyway, we were out watching the UFC fights that came to the town we lived in, which was a big deal. Went to the UFC fights live for a fight night in Greenville, South Carolina. It was awesome. Out late, which we rarely do because of little kids. So we got into some pork dumplings. And Kristen was sick within hours. I got sick after her. But the difference is that mine didn't go away and it kept progressively getting worse. Just, the details are rough, violent vomiting, and just, it was horrible. And my issue is that I get an unnatural pain response from having food poisoning or something like that. So in this case, by the next morning, it was bad, and it continued to progressively get worse throughout the rest of the day. So I made the call. I said, hey, I got to go to urgent care. I got to get something here because it's unbelievable abdominal pain and just, coming up. And so call doc. He's the man. He drives over. He knew Kristen was sick but a little bit before me, so he drove to my house, picked me up, brought Kristen and I to the urgent care. And this guy, he's legit, right? He's the head of a department at a major hospital. So I trust him implicitly, and it's so much better when you've got an advocate like that. Man, it takes all the guess. We're very lucky to have friends like that. So anyway, at the urgent care, and I could tell by the look on his face, especially after I'd gotten checked into the urgent care and we'd started the process of some tests and some, figuring out why I was reacting so poorly to food poisoning. I could tell by the look on his face with what we were talking about that the shit was a little bit real, right? So the words like pancreatitis came up, pretty serious conditions, and my white blood cell count was through the roof, like massively elevated white blood cell count, not real typical of food poisoning. So we got pretty concerned about that. And the next level of concern came when the urgent care said, hey, with your elevated white count, we can't do the tests and the scans that we need to do here. We need to send you to the hospital. So I was like, well, damn, headed to the hospital after urgent care for food poisoning. So we got to the hospital and they had me on IV morphine, which is amazing. Oh, now it took a full hit. I don't know what a hit is. That's my medical term. Took one hit of morphine just to take the edge off of the abdominal pain. I swear I'm not a bitch. I swear I'm not a wimp. Serious pain. First hit of morphine barely took the edge off. Then he hit me with the second hit of morphine, and that felt like morphine, which was excellent. It's very easy for me to understand why people get addicted to that stuff. So morphine, multiple hits of morphine in the hospital, IV Zofran, which is a anti-nausea medication. It's the top of the food chain anti-nausea medication. I love that shit. And IV, the stuff hits you and it really knocks it out. Took multiple doses of that as well to curb the nausea. And I got a contrast scan done of my entire torso, and everything was just massively through my intestines. Everything was massively inflamed, but it's not they were worried that it was appendicitis. They found out it wasn't appendicitis, just massive amounts of inflammation and obviously all of the muscle cramping and other stuff that comes with that. And they just told me they didn't know. That's what all of this came to, this most recent incident. But no pancreatitis, no appendicitis, no weird tumors, because they would have seen anything in my digestive system. Nothing. The scan just came back inflamed but clean. Strange. Well, not every incident of my mystery disease flare-up has gone... None of them went well, but the trip to the hospital, got the pain medication, got the anti-nausea stuff, kind of checked off the blocks, felt better, recovered, went home, normal. Man, one of these instances where I had to go to urgent care for it. Urgent care nurses, they're saints because they deal with people who have an urgent issue, right? So people come in desperate. And if you're in a job where you deal with desperate people and you can do that well and calmly, You're a saint. You're a saint. So I'm not shitting on urgent care nurses or the nurse in the story in particular, but I went into urgent care and I was hurting. I think it was my second time in urgent care that week or something. And I just, it sounds like I go to the hospital all the time, like I'm a hypochondriac or I'm sickly, but that's not normal for me. And so I went into urgent care. I was, same story, violently sick. And I was kind of in the bed and I was alone at urgent care this time. And they don't, when they check you in at urgent care, it's not that, most people know this, but it's not the same as normal hospital check-in. They don't give you the gown and everything like that. So you're just in your clothes. They put you on the gurney. There's some rooms, if they need to get you into a room to do whatever they need to do. So I was in one of these rooms and the nurses would come in and check on me. The doctor would come back and see if the medication they gave me is working a little bit better, curb the nausea, whatever, handle the pain. And so, but the nature of this mystery disease is that it requires frequent trips to the bathroom to puke or, barely avoid shitting myself. So in urgent care, there's not a bathroom in the room. It's not a normal hospital bed. And so, as a man, as an adult, a contributing member of society, you don't like to think that you still do absolute childish things, right? Now, some silliness and being a silly goose is great, but for the most part, as an adult, I like to think that I don't regularly shit my pants. That's an ideal I seek to uphold, is the idea that I have some continence and can make it to the bathroom. Well, in this situation, I should have known. I was laying on the bed, like the pain medication was finally kicking in. I'd been back and forth to the bathroom. I was in the urgent care bed. They've been taking care of me, and this particular case wasn't absolutely terrible like the most recent one was. It was bad enough to go in, but not so much so that I needed to be elevated to a hospital. So I was in the bed, but I was in the urgent care place for like 4.5 hours because they give the medication, they check, they inevitably have to come back and give some more painkiller, give some more anti-nausea meds. And I shouldn't have trusted the fart, but oh my God, I shit my pants in the bed in the urgent care. And I shit my pants in jeans. Oh God, it was terrible. And as I'm sitting there, you have that moment of absolute existential panic, right? As an adult who's not at home when this kind of thing goes down. And and this wasn't like, this was the kind of shit you expect in the environment I was in my condition. Absolute nightmare. But also add to that situation that, your initial response is like, oh my God, I need to clean this up. I need to solve this huge problem I've just created. But I was sick as shit too. So like every movement hurt. And so, I got the main area of the problem dealt with, thrown away, but like it made it through to the jeans. I was not in a good way. I was not looking presentable in any way. I had some fucking puke on my shirt too. And I'll remember this for the rest of my life. I never really, like, the disappointment in the eyes as I was laying in the bed. I knew I was kind of getting close to the point where I could go home. I was starting to feel a little bit better. The nurse came in to ask if I need anything. They're getting my paperwork ready to discharge me from this urgent care place. And I just looked at her and I was like, I pooped the bed. It's the most embarrassing. It's like one of the most embarrassing moments of your life where as an adult, you have to look another adult in the eyes and honestly and seriously say words that should only be coming out of a toddler's mouth. Oh my God, it was, yeah. And she just like, that's not what she signed up for, man. Like I said, I don't mean to shit on nurses, but when you when you go to urgent care, I think, maybe I'm making this up. I think, that when you go to work at an urgent care, you're not signing up for the bedpan stuff, right? You're not signing up for the like sponge bath type of nurse activities. It's just a different job. Man, I gave her the situation I'm pretty sure she was looking to avoid all along. Her face just sunk. I was like, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say, but not what she prepared for. So this mystery disease of mine has put me in some awkward situations, shitting the bed and having to admit that to an adult who I knew had to come back and kind of clean up some of that. Oh my God, just absolutely terrible. So I put this out here and, into the world, hoping some genius knows what my mystery disease is. I do not have Crohn's. I do not have celiacs, but I've got a mystery disease that occasionally makes me shit my pants in front of another adult. Occasionally sends me to the hospital with some kind of crazy urgent pain and nausea issue that is uncontrollable and is responsible for some of the most embarrassing situations I've been in. So yeah, if anybody knows what I might have, give me a call. Hit me up. Solve the mystery of my mystery puking, pants shitting, wife concerning disease. So yeah, got into some gross details for the Too Much Information What's Up Mike episode today. Thanks for hanging out.